Hello, everyone. This is amazing. I just got a video response. Actually, not just got. The video response was on May 9th, I believe. And today is June 10th, I just realized. So it's been a month. And I don't know if it's because of the new way that YouTube is basically, I guess in a sense, crippled video responses, but I wouldn't have seen this response had I not been going through my emails and, looking to see who had subscribed to me. And I came across this wonderful video response. Wonderful. I mean, I can't tell you how much the timing is perfect on this. But basically, this was a response to Fasting Girl 31 back in 2010 regarding her video, which was entitled Eat 1,200 Calories and Shut Up. And she talked about how she had been going to her doctor and trying to figure out what was going on. And to make a long story short, her doctor, basically said, everything looks fine to you. All your tests come back okay. And he says, just eat 1,200 calories, you'll be fine. But basically, stating, in her mind and the way she took it, it was a very emotional thing. And I remember at the time being out of work. This was in between 2009 and 2010. I was out of work for 17 months. And I had a lot of time to do a lot of self-examination, re-examination of, myself, and take a healthy self-inventory, And so I made a video response to Fasting Girl in regard to the spiritual aspect of food and how we how we use it to numb ourselves, and how we really are driven by our emotions toward food. Well, this gentleman, Bruce is his name. His last name is French, and I'm sure that I will slaughter it if I try to speak it, but I will try anyway. Bruce Devaux, I'm guessing. But his last name is Devaux. His YouTube name is full YouTube name, Bruce Devaux. And 62 years old. God bless him. I'm so grateful for his response. I have been going through this battle even more this last year. My mom passed of cancer last year. And then, of course, I lost all control of my eating, and I gained back all the weight that I had lost on Weight Watchers, which was like 35 pounds I had lost. And I gained all that back plus some. And so here we are. I've made it through 1 year since my mom passed, which was March 31st of this 2013. And here we are in June. So in the last 2 weeks, I began to study why we get fat. And there's no way that Bruce would know this, or anybody else on YouTube, because I haven't been posting any videos on YouTube in regard to losing weight or counting calories or anything like that. That was probably the only video I think I did on food. But it has become a life-changing experience for me in the last 2 weeks. I have given up refined sugars. I'm not saying I've totally given them up. I mean, if I'm over at somebody's house and they're going to give me something that has sugar in it, I'll make a judgment call. But in the last 2 weeks, I have been very strict, 2.5 weeks or so, and my life has changed. I cannot say there's too much to say in this video, because I have too much to say in regard to Christine, Fasting Girl 31, and to Bruce. And I wrote a bunch of notes. And all I can say is I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. And I don't know if the rest of you out there are aware, but Fasting Girl 31 is continuing to fight her battle with cancer. And so she needs all of your prayers. And continue to lift up her family and her husband Ernie. If you want to get in touch with Christina, the best way to do it is on Facebook. And she's on Facebook under Christina Newman. She has put out an open invitation on YouTube for her Facebook channel. And she is soliciting all of your prayers. And we are believing for the best. We're not being naive about terminal diagnosis of cancer, but we are believing for the best that she can beat this with God's help and with all of our prayers, that she can beat it. And we can all beat it. We can all beat it out of our own bodies, because it's time for all of us to take control of our food and not believe the lies that we have. Well, they're not lies. I mean, it's just so many misconceptions out there. But Bruce goes over a lot of them in his video. And, the best, he's doing so many of the right things. Bruce, you talk about cutting out sugar out of your diet, or just, doing the lowest amount of sugar. You're doing all the right things. No wonder you're doing so well. Like you said, you're a big guy, but it's not about the weight anymore. And that's what everybody's saying, because I've been studying this intensely for 3-4 weeks now. I've been studying this, and I really just stumbled upon it. It's kind of like Alice in Wonderland, falling down the rabbit hole, and you have no idea what you're getting into when you fall down that rabbit hole. Basically, I watched an 1.5 hour long presentation by Dr. Robert Lustig. You can find it on YouTube here. And he does a video called Sugar, the Bitter Truth. And then he has another hour so long video that he did recently, just last year. The first video he did in 2009, he became world renowned on what he was talking about. And then last year he came back to Cal State University, Fullerton, I believe, did another talk to a class on nutrition, talking about how a high sugar diet is a high fat diet. Okay, so I'll put the link to that video down in the description, and this is absolutely a must for those of us who are struggling with food, and we think that we're going to struggle with it our entire life. The other video that I watched recently was a gentleman by the name of Gary Taubes, who's an author, and he's written several books on different misconceptions, and recently I think he wrote a book called Why We Get Fat. Anyway, there's a video on YouTube under the title Why We Get Fat by Gary Taubes. And if you watch that, he's going to pretty much blow all your misconceptions out of the water in regard to why we get fat. And I'm telling you, those two videos are eye-openers. Basically, I mean, I could just put it to you in very simple terms. I am not a vegan, okay? I'm not a raw foodist. I'm kind of like going in that direction, but I don't think I'll ever be a raw foodist. But I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying it's a very extreme lifestyle. It's not for everybody, but it is for some people because their diets demand it. And so, or they feel that, you know, they don't want to eat animals, despite the fact that we have organic beef and organic cheese and organic milk and all these things. But some people, it's just a moral thing too, you know. But despite the fact that, yes, of course, to eat a pure diet of raw fruits and veggies and other raw foods is got to be the pinnacle of health, you know. but for what about for all the rest of us? What about for all the rest of us who just don't have it in us to live fully raw, and frankly to pay what it costs to live raw? I mean, if you're not paying through money, you're paying through sacrifice of other things in order to live raw. So there's a sacrifice all around, you know. You're sacrificing something else for the money you're spending on good raw food. But ultimately, it's all better. But Bruce, I can't believe I got a video response. I'm so glad that you posted that video. I feel like YouTube is coming alive again. I feel like this is a community like it used to be, you know. Anyway, I had a feeling it would come back around if I just waited long enough. But Bruce, you've got it right on the fiber. You've got it right on keeping your sugar low. Man, you ate eggs. Good job. Do you remember way back, they used to tell us that eggs were bad for us because they were high in cholesterol. Remember that? And then, you know, when we started getting the science in, they started finding out that eggs are actually good for us and they're not causing any cholesterol problems. And then, you know, the government really, you know, USDA really didn't come back and say, oh, we were wrong. No, they just sort of quietly started saying that they were an important part of our diet. I mean, everything is 180 degrees. You know, first they're saying eggs are bad for us, and now they're accepting the fact that eggs are good for us. And so you have got it right, Bruce. You have got it right. You are doing it right by eating eggs, because you need protein and you need energy. And eggs have that. And they have lots of other things too that are good for us. And even better, if you can afford it, you know, cage-free organic brown eggs, you know. The best. That's all I eat. Oh, you know. And, you know, cook them in coconut oil. And, you know, I don't even want to get into oils. Oh, my gosh. Basically, come down to it, you know, coconut oil is the best to cook with. You know, you can use some other oils too. And I think that olive oil, you know, it has a certain smoke point, and I believe it's about 350 degrees. So it's like you don't want to burn, you don't want to burn it, obviously. Okay, so olive oil though is good for cooking, as far as I can tell, and I continue to study that. But also, you know, olive oil is great on salads, of course. And so basically, you got it right in regard to juice, in the fact that, well, if we were meant to drink all that juice, then it would be growing on trees, because it would be readily acceptable, accessible, but the fact of the matter is that we have to take time and energy and effort to squeeze our oranges, to squeeze our grapes, you know, to make that juice and to take a whole big glass, like, 10 ounces of juice or 8 ounces of juice, or even 6 ounces of juice. It's a shot of sugar, but it's good sugar. But if you're already eating lots of sugar, it's going to throw you over the top. And that's where it comes down to cutting out refined sugars. Now, I'm limiting the intake of juices right now. The other day, though, I was working out in the garden and I was getting pretty fatigued. And all of a sudden, I felt an urge to have something sweet. So I thought, well, there's some, of our, all cranberry juice. It was like no added sugar, no high fructose corn syrup. And I took some of that and I poured water, to add to it just a little bit. And I drank that and that just gave me the energy I needed. Point of the matter is, yes, sugar has its place. Sugar has its place in the fact that, if you're running a race or you're working hard, we need some juice. We do. If we're working in the garden hard, I'm a believer in that. And these two videos that I watched on what makes us fat and sugar, the bitter truth, they were so eye-opening. It makes everything so much clearer for me. And I know that these videos will bless everyone because I finally feel free from sugar. I use sugar. Sugar does not use me. Okay? And here's the thing. It took me so long to get to this point. Why the heck did it take me this long? I'm over 40. I grew up learning the 4 food groups. I saw the pyramid food group, the whole change of the food pyramid come in. You know what we got to do? Scrap the food pyramid, go back to the 4 food groups, except with the knowledge that we have no processed foods, no trans fats, refined sugars almost completely eliminated. And I'm telling you that this is the way to go. And it's there's a lot out there. I tell you, for one thing, we got so many things, so many people telling us what's bad for us to eat. Salt. Oh, you got to have low salt. You know what? There's a guy on YouTube. He's called the Salt Guru. I'm going to put his link down in here. You need to watch some of his videos. He's doing his best to cut back on sugar. I had a little text with him earlier today, and I was telling him, and he says, he goes, sugar is white death. And I go, yeah. He's like, I'm trying to cut a little bit out. I'm trying to get rid of it. And I go, oh, you'll do yourself so much good by getting rid of it. You get more years to contribute to your family, to contribute to, your friends and the community. So, go watch this guy, the Salt Guru. He talks about how important salt is to our diet. And there's a lot of other videos out there about salt too, about how important it is for metabolic processes and stuff like that. And so also, we get into that whole thing about good salt and processed salt. So obviously you want to get the best salt out there, and you want to do a little research on which is the best salt to buy and to include in your diet. But it's really hard to escape all the processed foods out there when it comes to salt too. So, Bruce, I can't tell you. It's like I've been going through all this within the last 2-3 weeks, and all of a sudden you post a video here almost about the same time that I started looking into all this stuff. You post this video response to me and to Christina. And I went back and I watched that video that I made back in 2010, and I watched Christina's again, and boy, it just struck me. And I'll tell you, you got it right on juice, Bruce. You got it right on fiber. You're right about having more greens in your juice because you don't want to have the high sugar. Not that the natural sugar is bad. It's just making sure you're, reducing your sugar intake. But there's a whole nother thing about trans fats, and you didn't mention anything about that, but I don't know. You seem like a sharp guy, and I'm sure you're all over that. But the whole thing about it is basically, if you can't afford to buy coconut oil, there's olive oil, and it's always like the cold pressed, the most natural form of the oil, the less refined oil. And that stuff is doing immense harm to us all. Believe me, more harm than we realize. I had no idea because all of the food industry is doing their best to keep us in the dark. Well, I don't know if it's so much of a conspiracy. It's just, how it is. Everybody's trying to believe the best, but the honest truth is that trans fats, we got to get rid of them. We got to start thinking more about them. We got to cut those out. At the same time, we're cutting out sugar. And, how do you do that? Well, you got to drop some of your other misconceptions about other foods, like potatoes. Okay, this is a potato. Okay, I cooked this earlier. This is an organic potato. Let me see if you can see it. Can you see it here? And this potato is better for you. It's so good for us. It's so good for us. This potato is going to do me good. This will be my last thing to eat tonight. And you say, do you know how many carbs are in a potato? Yeah, about 36. But I don't count them anymore. And I don't count calories anymore. And you don't have to. You don't have to, because when you eat real foods like potatoes, when you eat real foods like whole milk, cheese, meat, plain yogurt, when you eat these foods, you break the cycle of insulin up and down. And that's the one thing that all these diets get wrong. They never address the insulin cycle. Well, some of them might. But then they're still worried about counting carbs and counting calories, or they're worried about salt, and they're worried about carbs, or they're worried about protein, or they're worried about fat. And the thing about fat is, the only fat we need to worry about is trans fat. Because we're not going to eat a lot of fat. I mean, why would we sit down and eat a lot of fat? I mean, people are like, oh, you can't eat fat. Well, you know what? Just do some research. Saturated fats are good for you. Real butter is good for you. Put some real butter on a potato with some real sour cream, and there you have a heart-healthy meal. I'm telling you, I have been losing weight, and I've been eating potatoes. I've been eating Swiss cheese. Man, I feel great. I feel great. You know what? And now, Bruce, you brought me back to the spiritual part of food. Because here I am all excited about all the science about food. I'm all excited about it. But you reminded me about that video I made in 2010 about blessing our food. And that is the thing. You know, it really will come back down to that. But it's great. It's great. It's great to get excited about how we can lose fat easily. Because let's face it, not all of us are going to get out there and cross train and do a PX2 or extreme, exercise. But what can we do? Well, we can cut out the intake. We can cut out the intake of the high fructose corn syrup. We can cut out the intake of refined sugars. Maybe a little honey on some plain yogurt. You know what happens when you stop eating sugar? Do you know what happens? Your taste buds come to life again. Suddenly when you're eating an apple, you're like, man, I don't remember apples being this good. This must be a really good apple. No, it's just because your taste buds have come back to life. Here I am, over 40 years old, and I'm saying to myself, depressed. Oh, poor me. I guess food just doesn't taste good anymore. I guess I just don't enjoy it anymore. It'll never taste good. I'll just eat it out of obligation. Come on. You guys. There is hope. There is hope because a high sugar diet is a high fat diet. A high fat diet is not it's not what causes us to gain weight. It's the insulin that causes us to gain weight. And you know what, Bruce? You are so right in feeling good about yourself. Because you're doing I would say 90% of what I'm doing, you're doing. And all I did was just go all the way and just say, okay, no more corn syrup, no more dextrose, no more maltodextrin, nothing that is a sugar that is refined, in my packaged stuff. Like you said, look for the packages that don't have sugar. And bread, people are still so uptight about bread. But like you said, look for the bread that does not have the sugar. Look for the bread that does not have the sugar. And look for the bread that is whole wheat, as much grains in it as we can get, fiber, as much fiber. And that's going to be good for us. Because where do you think you're going to get your sugar if you cut out refined sugars? Where are you going to get your sugars? Where is your body going to get the glucose? Well, bread and potatoes. You eat a potato, this breaks down into glucose, feeds every cell in your body. You eat a piece of good bread, that's your sugar. That's your sugar. You're changing your sugar focus. You're changing your sugar focus from high fructose corn syrup to foods that break down into sugar. Breads, potatoes, those things break down into sugar. So, obviously, we need to do a lot more rethinking about bread, which has been a staple for thousands of years for mankind. And potatoes. This feeds the world. The potato feeds the world, folks. It's good for us. There's so much in there. There's potassium. There's all kinds of good stuff in the potato. And cheese. Now, let me tell you two stories. I was at the store 2 days ago with my wife. We went into the bread aisle and we're going to get our Ezekiel bread. Because Ezekiel is like, we just eat that, because it's just no sugar and it's just like the best we can find in the supermarket. And, we're like, oh, we're looking for good bread. And my wife walks ahead of me. And the lady didn't know that was my wife. And she said under her breath, yeah, but it's all poison. I'm like, what? What? Bread is not poison, folks. Yes, white flour and, sugar like Wonder Bread. Yeah, that's poison. Okay. Ezekiel bread? No way. No way. No way. I'm just saying. The other story I have to say is this. A dear lady that was my Sunday school teacher. I went back to visit my old church this last Sunday, and her hip had gotten dislocated. And I went up to her and I said, oh, I've been doing a lot of studying. Are you getting enough cheese? And she was like, oh no, I can't eat cheese. It will make my cholesterol go up. And I thought, okay, so I'm still studying the cheese thing. But the fact is that cheese is good for us. It has saturated fat. It does not make the cholesterol go up. From everything I've read so far, this is like been going on for the last year. It's like exploding onto the health food scene, is that cheese is anti-cancer causing. It's got vitamin K, vitamin D3, calcium. It's one of the only foods that has those three. It fights cancer. It's got and this is what kills me. This is what absolutely kills me. I went back, I watched that video with Christine in it, and she said she went to the doctor and this is right before she got diagnosed with breast cancer. She had an extremely low level of vitamin D. And I looked it up, and boom, of course, it says women that have low vitamin D are extremely at risk for breast cancer. Best source of vitamin D, the sun, obviously. But you can also get vitamin D from cheese. And you need vitamin K to process the vitamin D and calcium, from what I've read. Because if you just take vitamin D supplements, you're throwing it all off, and your body can't process the without the vitamin K, which the cheese has. Again, yeah, cheese is high in sodium, but watch this video on the Salt Guru, and he'll tell you how important salt is and how important sodium is. And cheese, it's like everything we were taught about the 4 food groups: dairy, cheese. Oh, the 4 food groups was dairy and cheese and eggs, meats, breads, and then, gosh, it's been so long, and fruits and vegetables. So, oh my gosh. Okay, so obviously there's a lot going on. And so pray for Christina. Pray for her to win this battle. She's already won the battle. Spiritually, she's won it. Because she is a survivor in the midst of it. And so everything in the American diet is causing cancer. Because we're depriving ourselves of all the nutrients that our bodies need. We're going on a low fat, low sodium, low carb, and we're sitting here trying to count our calories. About 4 weeks ago, before I started all this, I was going into the living room to sit down, and my knee went out. Crack, crack, crack. And I fell down, and I was like, oh. And you know what? You know what I was doing? I was getting ready to sit down for the night and eat an ice cream sandwich. And it was probably filled with tons of fructose. But all I can say is this. Since I've been back on, I had to walk with a cane for like a week and a half. And I stopped eating sugar just because I knew that I couldn't handle it at the time. And in the past, I've gone on fasts, and I've always done much better, but I could never figure out if it was just because, well, I had no idea it was because I was depriving myself of sugar. And now it all makes sense why all these diets work, because they all reduce sugar. But it's not about losing weight, folks. It's not about losing weight, because it's not the weight on the outside that matters. It's the weight on the inside. It's the visceral fat. It's the fat that surrounds our heart and the fat that surrounds our kidneys and liver. Those are the fats that we need to worry about, because that, by the way, that's what high fructose syrup does. High fructose syrup is a main cause of visceral fat. And watch that video by Dr. Robert Lustig, and he'll go over all the chemistry, the long, boring, arduous chemistry of how the high fructose syrup goes into your stomach and how it's metabolized and how it goes through your liver and all this other stuff. And you watch that. Watch it a couple times if you have to. But I'm telling you, this is the key, because how else are you going to get off sugar? You got to be satisfied with something, and why not real whole foods that satisfy your appetite? And this is what I just didn't understand is, about the insulin, how it blocks this hormone called leptin, which actually makes us feel full. So not only does insulin cause weight gain, but it also blocks the hormone leptin, which lets our brains know that we're full. So what happens? Oh, we keep eating. We keep eating. Oh, we got to eat more. So what do we eat more of? Trans fats, more high fructose corn syrup. We just continue the cycle, and until our bodies are just filled with low density lipoproteins and filling up every area of our body. No matter how much water we drink, we just can't seem to feel like we're absorbing it. There is so much that I have come into a realization of in these last 2 weeks. All I can say is that, Bruce, your video is right on track. You are right on track. Keep seeking truth. For Christina, I don't know, I don't want to be imposing upon your diet, because I know, Christina, you have studied a lot. I just want you to know, Christina, that I watched your video from 2010 again, and I saw what you were saying, and I'm sure you have evolved a lot in your thinking as well. But Christina, I would just I hope that what I'm saying is sparking thoughts again about these things, and I know that you're probably already doing all that stuff, and so I bless you and your family, and I'm so happy that you guys are together in all this. And so I remember there was a phrase that you said, Christina, in your video, and you said, it feels like it's chemically based, like if I could just get all my hormones correct, that I would be okay. And what you said was correct, because what is it that causes our brain to know that it's full? It's the hormone leptin, and that hormone is being blocked by corn syrup, dextrose, maltodextrin, whatever refined sugars that we're eating, especially the high fructose corn syrup. It is blocking our ability to feel full. And right now, I know you're in a lot of challenges. I know that You know, and I don't understand why, but you know, we all have to go through painful times in our life, but I know you're making all the best choices. And I just I had to make this video because everyone's going through so much. Even Renetto, yeah, I'm watching him, you know, what he's going through. And I wanted to just reach out to Renetto and say, Renetto, you could go through this and just cut out one thing, sugar, and it's going to give you the clarity you need. It's going to give you the, you know, strength you need to take on whatever it is that comes next. And that goes for all of us. That goes for all of us. So Lord bless us all, and let us all just keep seeking truth. All right, guys. I look forward to my next video. I have lots of things on my plate in regard to the biblical study stuff, so be a while before I get one of those up. All right, God bless.